Hey, how's everyone doing? Just having a drink and got some food and whatnot. Roommate's out of the apartment right now, out of town. I don't know where he is, but got a new place. As an update, new job's going okay, but other than that, I don't know, I was just sitting here thinking about something that I've never really thought of too much before, but something kind of crossed my mind. I've been watching some videos, like XJW type videos, apostate videos, if you will, if you want to call it that. I saw a comment that caught my attention a little bit. I thought it was this might be kind of interesting to some people. As an XJW myself, ex Jehovah's Witness, for those who don't know the terminology there, there was a comment from a JW who's still inside the organization. Now, I left. And the video I was watching was from a person who also either left or I don't know their situation. They're a content creator that's got a lot of views. I'm sure they've talked about it, just I've never watched that video. Whether they were kicked out or just left. I left. Never had the opportunity to get caught doing something that was like, scripturally problematic, if you will, right? There was a comment that I saw that was really interesting. There's a bag crinkling beside me. There's a comment that on the video that I thought was really interesting. So somebody mentioned in the comments that it was like, thanks to edibles, I can get through the meetings. Like, without being under the influence of cannabis, essentially, they can't get through the meetings. And they said that they were PIMO, physically in, mentally out, which is what I have been my entire life. I've been physically in, mentally out, basically the entire time I grew up in that shit. It's all bullshit. And I saw it right from the beginning. It's like, even though I was raised into it by parents that were just all in, both of my parents come from a similar upbringing. Fathers didn't want anything to do with it. Both mothers, both my grandmothers, studied and became Jehovah's Witnesses while the kids were young, and then raised the kids into it, which isn't uncommon, especially in those times when you're talking about like the 50s, 60s, going 70s, That's not an uncommon dynamic from those decades. Kids being raised into it like that, and just kind of taking it on as like, this is my new normal, if you will. I didn't really have that growing up. Like, I kind of saw through some of it, even though you're being raised into it and it's like, this is my situation. I went to public school and had friends in public school and played video games and watched a lot of TV when I was younger. Oh, a lot of TV and movies. Oh my God. So I had a sense of what was going on outside of what I was privy to, being inside of this religion. Now, this is what's interesting about someone who is still physically in but mentally out. And this is what I've been for a long time. I kind of hit it. My experience was I didn't want to leave because my parents are older. My siblings are much older than I am, but all of them are kind of like, now I have a relationship with my brother who for the past 20 something years I had no relationship with, didn't know who he was because he was disfellowshipped. He was kicked out when he was like 18 or so, came back for a moment and got kicked out again while I was like 5 years old. So I never really got to know him. And never got answers as to like who he was or his situation. One of my sisters is married and, she's out of town. She's nowhere near my parents, so she can't really help out. And my other sister, bless her if but she's not fully capable of helping my parents. So I didn't want to leave them in the lurch if they needed the help, because my dad is 70, right? Right now I have a working relationship there that if they needed help, I can go and help them, and they don't have as like big of a problem with it. That's like that they're not audibly or vocally telling me like, hey, you can't come around here. They will call me when they need help, which is good. At least while I'm living in this area, I can help them. So in the end, it kind of did work out for me leaving. But I saw through the bullshit. Now, this person, I don't want to get too off track here. So this person that I saw the comment of, they take edibles to go to the meetings, like going to church essentially, right? For those who aren't familiar with being a Jehovah's Witness, right? Going to a meeting is like going to church, but it's like twice a week. Used to be 3 times a week when I was a kid. Now it's twice a week. Thursday, at least like at the one I went to, was like Thursday night, Sunday morning. They're all a little different depending on the area, how many groups are meeting there. That's also kind of interesting to note that it's not like just one group of people going to church. Sometimes it's like different foreign languages and there's different groups of people. If there's too big of a congregation, they'll shrink it down and have like one person, one group of people going in the morning on a Sunday, and then another group go in on an afternoon. Same meeting, just two different groups of people. It's this interesting situation. I don't know if there's a lot of religions that do that. Not saying they're that special, but I'm hard pressed to find another religion that seems to do that. Most religions are at this point old enough that they're dying out, and they're barely keeping the old people around because they're all on life support at this point, right? No young people are going to Catholic school and Sunday morning church. It's pretty rare, at least around here. Baptists and Catholics are aplenty, but none of them go to church. So this person goes to the meetings on edibles to deal with it. Now, I used to always go sober, and honestly, now I'm starting to think that might have been not a bad idea to go drunk or high. But I had responsibilities there, and I viewed it as a job. I didn't, for the last, I've been out for like a year, I think at this point. It's been just about a year. Coming right up, I'm trying to think. At this point, though, I've been out for almost exactly a year. But when I was going, it was like I could have left years ago. When I was 18, honestly, there's points where I was like, man, do I really want to stay? There's points where I thought about leaving the state. But I just kept doing it for my parents, for my family, right? With this person, though, I haven't gotten a response back and may not. But I just kind of posed a question like, why not leave? Family, friends? Like that sort of situation. What I found is that I didn't know the truth about the truth, because witnesses like to say they have the truth. I didn't really know the truth about the witnesses and what the governing body, like the leadership, is actually up to, the kind of shenanigans they get up to, and the false teachings and the lies and real estate scams and all this other crazy shit going on. Cover-ups of like child abuse, which was the big one for me leaving. When I found out about that, that's all it really took for me to be like, I don't want anything to do with this. CSA cases were enough for me to be like, that's really the only reason I need to leave. And that's a decent reason to not go back, I don't know. It's like what I found, though, is I wouldn't really pay much attention to apostate material, is what they would call it. Anyone who has anything bad to say about the organization, they consider that apostasy. Like you're against the religion, you're against God. That's how they view it. So I think the interesting thing to view here is if you're not leaving because of family, you may want to just leave, because that'll tell you how your family feels about you and your friends and so on. Because if In my experience, initially I was cut off 100%. The moment it was announced publicly that I was leaving, everyone stopped talking to me. There was a rare moment where someone, I think I know who it was, they reached out after a catastrophic event happened where I lived, and they asked if I was okay. I decided to not respond to them for a number of reasons, which I'm not going to discuss here. Maybe at some future point I might, in a different video. And I was reached out to by someone who was on my, right around the time that they changed the name of it, but essentially it was a judicial committee, 3 elders it's essentially like local leadership, if you want to call it that, like priests or whatever. Elders are sort of in that realm. 3 of them get together with you, supposed to get with you, and then decide what happens to you. I just didn't show up. I outright refused. But I definitely recommend, like, if anyone is like considering leaving or doesn't really want to be a part of it, but family is the only thing really holding you in, leave. Don't stay there. Like, you're just doing yourself a disservice by not leaving. So, honestly, it's like, if you really want to know how people feel about you, leave. Because you're going to find out right away. On the other hand, it may be incredibly disappointing because you're going to find that most people, if not all people, will not want to talk to you. But over the course of time, that can change. What you have to do is stay true to yourself, which sounds stupid, but think about that for a second. Just be yourself. Don't go full, like, hate mode on the organization. You don't want to publicly become an apostate and ruin the chances of someone kind of thinking like, wow, this person's not, in social media, when I see them in public at like the store, they don't seem any different. They seem like they still seem like the same person, Joe Blow, whatever, that I went to the meetings with. And they may kind of realize like, yeah, they're my friend. Like, why? Because I had that situation happen where it's like one of my best friends who now it's like, for the last like few years or more, like 3-4 years or more than that, I think, like we've been like hanging out and our relationship as friends is better than ever. But we're like lifetime friends, very close, like brothers. And I remember when he got kicked out, I was very distraught and very divided about the whole thing. That's what really started me down and I've talked about this before, that's what really started me down the path of leaving. Because I didn't agree with the decision to kick him out. And even with very little information, even now, I still don't agree with it. Like, it just doesn't really check out. So after kind of realizing that it's like, not everyone that gets kicked out or leaves is a bad person. You're told that they're a bad person and that they're like mentally unstable or mentally unwell. And that's just not the case. There might be some cases like that. There where people are just not stable. They have some issues and the congregation is just kicking them out. In their mind, saving the flock. Because like everyone is a sheep and the elders are the shepherd. And that's how they view this situation. But life doesn't work like that. So, you don't, just because someone has a different view than you of like religion or politics doesn't mean that you should like hate them or like not associate with them. It's stupid. It's childish. And that's kind of the decision that I came to, is like, this doesn't make it. Why am I doing this? And I think that everyone that's like stuck or they feel stuck, just leave. Honestly, it's easier than you think, but it is very hard on you. You need to be prepared for that. It is very difficult mentally and emotionally. You're going to feel it physically. And you're going to want to change jobs and move. Honestly, that was the best decision I made. It was like almost like half a year or more after like 8 months or so. I finally changed jobs, moved, and it feels like I finally moved on from that, which is nice. It's like a nice feeling to be able to just like get away from that. And the fact that like at least my parents, like my mom and my dad, are okay with me and my brother coming over and helping them with stuff. It at least makes me feel good. It's like that I can do what I wanted to do in the sense of why I was staying. I'm able to do that on the outside. That's not going to be the case for everyone. But I think it is a good decision to leave because the longer you stay, the more it's going to degrade your mental health and the more it's going to mess with you and the more it's going to drag you down. And you're going to get to a point where you're going to bottle this up and bottle it up and shove it down and you're going to have a mental breakdown. And I was just about there. So honestly, the best advice I can give to anyone that's physically in, mentally out, PIMO, as we would call it, in that organization, or any, honestly, any religion, this can go for any religion or organization or cult or anything. If it's ruining your life, leave. The people who genuinely care about you will have at least eventually get to a point where they will see this, conflicted ideals there, and they will reach out to you at some point, hopefully. Otherwise, just cut your losses. If people really are that attached to an organization or religion over legitimate relationships with people, with family members and good friends, I just struggle to believe that it's worth caring about. Maybe that's just me, but I genuinely think that it's probably best to leave, to move on with your life. And it could be a struggle to, if you're raised into it to an extent where you don't know anything else. There's help out there now. The internet exists and it has for over 20 years. There's help. There's support groups and people that you can talk to. Therapists exist. There's more therapists, I think, than ever. Right? Reach out to people, reach out for help, and get out of that. Leave. Don't stay. Don't stay in something that's going to ruin your life. If it's doing you, if it's helpful in any way, there's no shame in holding on to religious beliefs and ideals. And if you genuinely believe, then you genuinely believe. You're a true believer. All that's fine. It's just not worth your mental health to stay in something that's ruining it. So getting out of there, I think, is very important. Otherwise, I mean, it's like, it's not worth sticking around. Getting out of there, I think, is the best thing for people like that. Like this guy that's taking edibles to deal with going to the meetings. Go Zin. Ooh, sorry. Yeah, just leave. That's the best advice I can give anyone. As hard as that can be, and as hard as that sounds, might be your best option. So I just thought it might be worth talking about. For people who are physically in but mentally out or on their way out. Yeah, don't put yourself through that. Just leave. Because you're going to find out a lot of things about yourself and about your friends and family when you leave. And as difficult as it may be, it can be a good thing in the long term. So Yeah, I would consider it. I would consider leaving for people in that position. Um, yeah, there's not much else to say there. But I hopefully this drunken rant helps someone. But yeah, there's no reason to put yourself through the ringer just for the sake of trying to keep family and friends happy. If you're not happy, probably time to make some changes. So, hope this helps. Um, I'd like to see some comments, your thoughts and opinions. People who watched through even part of this video, I'd like to see some thoughts and opinions on this, but leaving might be the best case scenario. But it's always worth thinking about the outcomes, but sometimes you don't know until you get there, especially when it comes to these situations. Because if you're raised into it, like I was, you don't really know. You just don't know until you make that move. Like what's actually going to happen and how things are going to turn out. So I might have sort of a fortunate situation overall. Some people may not. Some people never talk to their parents again. It's been 20 years and they haven't heard from their parents or loved ones. So it's a tough one for sure. It's a difficult conversation. I don't think I could record sober. So yeah, hope this helps someone. Um, yeah, good luck. I mean, if you're physically in and mentally out, I hope the best for you because it's very difficult to be in that position. But you shouldn't have to take mind altering substances to put up with bullshit, you know? So, yeah, something to consider. See you.